What's up, everyone? Okay, this episode is going to be a little different. James decided to come up with some questions. I had no idea what they were and asked me about them. So it's interesting. From awesome questions, got into a real good discussion. So don't miss it. Check it out. Right on.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. Enson, you're back in Hawaii, back in the shop. How's things been since you've been back?
Very busy. So just been making bracelets like all day, continuously just making one after another. This is the one I'm working on right now.
Nice.
This was a one of a family that he made for his twin, and his mother and father. So,
oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. Busy. Good. Busy is good.
Busy is good. So today we thought we'd do something a bit different. We've called this episode The State of MMA. And the idea kind of behind it is I'm going to throw Enson a few topics, a few things that I think people would be curious to know your opinion on. And just roll with it. And just, if anyone's got any suggestions, put it down in the comments. Any things you want to hear, we'll do a specific episode on it. But let us know. So I'm going to kick things off because when you were fighting, right, social media was not a thing. Like, barely. I think by the time you retired, I think you said you jumped onto like MySpace and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It was MySpace, yeah.
So I was curious, I mean, do you think it's a good thing for MMA? Like, have you got any strong opinions on how you think social media has kind of changed MMA?
Well, I think with MMA moving into the entertainment business, it helps because the fighters can have like a little Twitter battle, go back and forth and, hate each other on Twitter, and creates that little drama in the whole thing. So I guess in that sense, it does help. The other thing is it was kind of interesting because in Japan, a lot of the famous people don't make themselves available to fans. And reason being, you become like a godlike figure, an untouchable figure. So when they finally go to your concert, they go crazy, But if on social media and everything, you can message. I like to be in touch with my fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't do that.
No, I don't do that. And then you message them, talk to them all the time. You're not that much of a godlike figure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, with that thought with that in thought, you kind of figured out, it kind of takes away from that godlike status,
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, if I don't know, you some like Al Pacino,
Mm-hmm.
If you see him down the street, it'd be like, holy fuck, Al Pacino. But if I would be able to converse with him on Twitter and got to he read messages back on Twitter like that, it'd be like, oh, Al Pacino. How it you think about that, it's kind of like that. So in a way, I think it's good and bad, but I think in the state of MMA now, it's actually a good thing because the fighters will get more publicity.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to contact the promoters. They'll be able to sell their name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, back in the day, if we had this, I don't know if it would have been a good thing or a bad thing, because back in the day, it wasn't really. I don't think it would have even made any difference because it wasn't entertainment at all. So it wasn't like I would ever message my opponent or talk shit about my opponent and tag him on it, and hope he sees it so he messages back and I message back. It was nothing like that. So I don't think in my day and age it would have made a difference. But I think it's really good for MMA today.
It's crazy, right? Because you kind of almost take it for granted. The era of having social media just kind of came in and people got used to it. And, as you say, like nowadays, fighters call each other out on Twitter and Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And you think back then that it never happened, right? The promoters made a fight and, you wouldn't have any channels to talk with each other. You'd just be sort of talking in the press. And if they heard about it, then they heard about it.
Yeah. Pretty much the only thing you hear them say about you is in the interviews. Yeah. Interesting.
So the next thing I wanted to ask you, right, is there's a promotion which I'm sure a lot of fans are familiar with, bare knuckle fighting. You're obviously familiar with it as well, with the fact that you're a good friend of yours, Chris Lieben, had some great success in bare knuckle. I was wondering what you think about, a promotion sort of going back and doing the bare knuckle side of things. Are you a fan of it? Or you think there's a place for it in the sport?
Yeah, I think it's a whole different aspect. When you're punching with boxing gloves to MMA gloves is a whole difference, and then you punching with MMA gloves to bare fisted. The thing that people don't realize, like the glove is like about 1 inch thick, if not even 1 inch, yeah. But even something like that distance makes a huge difference on the impact of the punch, and how you're gonna move your head to avoid the punches. Even you figure a boxing glove when you keep this is a good enough of a guard in boxing because a glove will cover your head. But in MMA, you got to keep it up here. Bare knuckle, it's probably a whole different idea. So I like it. I like it because it's another aspect of fighting. There's that rawness of bare knuckle. It's dangerous for the hands, but I think a lot of the professional guys will change the type of punches they throw. Be a little more precise on how they hit in the head. So yeah, bare knuckle, I love it. I'm a fan of it. I watch everyone. I watched the last one with I think it was Let Me Bang and Mike Perry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a good fight. Yeah, I saw those. I watched all the fights. Yeah, even Chris Lieben and Phil Baroni, I watched that too. I know both of them. That's why. But yeah, bare knuckle. I mean, it's probably something that I would probably have wanted to do if I was still a young stud. Still young. Energetic stud. Right now I'm old. It's past me, but it's just something I look at and say, damn, that would have been cool if it was in my prime.
Yeah. I could see you definitely doing it, and you obviously did have like bare knuckle fights as well, a couple, right?
Yeah, UFC 13 was actually bare knuckle. Yeah, I mean, it was the last one that they let you decide if the option of wearing a glove or not. I think Royce Alger wore a glove. I didn't. I wanted to experience that bare knuckle, that rawness. Yeah. So with that said, yeah, you know that if bare knuckle was in my time, I would have definitely wanted to experience it.
Awesome. So switching gears quite a bit, fighters that are trying to get into the sport, when the fighters, exploring different gyms and that side of things, what do you think they should be looking for in a gym?
Well, I think each fighter is different. For me, I like to find a gym that has like a family mode where they care about each other. I mean, the grind that you're going to have on the mats is going to be really bad, really hard. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears, you had to say. So it's a lot easier to, blood, sweat, and tear with people that you trust, people that you consider like family. So that's how I have my gyms. And that's why I really took to Extreme Couture, because they're like a big family, man. And they took us in really nicely. It was really nice to be, welcomed in like a part of the family. Yeah, so I think it depends. Just some fighters don't like that. Some fighters like to just be solo and not really have close interaction with other people they spar with. So I think it's all on preference. But I think an important thing to look at when you look into a gym is the fighters that are training there. What fighters that are training there? You got real fighters training there. You got guys that are actually in the UFC. And a lot of times, Extreme Couture, I don't know if Eric Nixick has that much experience in the ring, but I would actually want to look for someone that has a lot of experience in the ring, has been in the grind. Eric's an awesome coach, so that's definitely not something that you need to be a good coach, because Eric's definitely a good coach. I'm not sure what his MMA background is, if he fought before, but like Ray Sifu's in there training. You got Jake Shields also helping coaching there. So you got, I think the majority of the time it'd be probably the best bet, to look for someone that's been in the grind and knows what it's like to be in the ring. But yeah, I think that's and then of course you want to look for a gym that has kickboxing teacher teaching that is a kickboxer, a jiu-jitsu teacher that's a jiu-jitsu guy. You don't want to have I'd rather not be like, oh, have Enson Inoue at the gym teaching and he teaches everything. I'd rather have a specialist. I'd rather go to someone that, there's someone teaching, like maybe Enson will teach the MMA. You got someone, some black belt jiu-jitsu guy teaching the jiu-jitsu, kickboxer teaching kickboxing, a wrestler teaching wrestling, So I believe that that's an important thing to look for when you look into a gym, is find, the guys that are specialists in that section teaching that.
Yeah. No, definitely. I can't really comment on it with my lack of MMA experience, but I think it's really cool. I would definitely, I think the sort of, as you say, a family aspect, because you're going to have moments, right, where you're going to just want to quit and just give up. And if you got, like you say, if you got those people propping you up, really, it's what you need, right? So.
Yeah, especially, at the fights like that, you'll have highs and lows there. So it's the highs is nice to have someone that considers you family, where they're not jealous and they're more happy for you. And then when you have a hard loss, man, it's nice to have people that you can turn to, or shoulders that you can lean on. And if it's a family type of environment in the gym, that's real important. That's definitely something that will happen. You have some people to lean on, people to talk to.
So on Wednesday, I was watching Rise and Trigger, the #2, the second Trigger event, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but
yeah, I watched it too.
Oh, you did? Nice. That's gonna help me with this next question, because the co-main event, one of the guys, I think it's Kuramoto, destroyed his opponent with some absolute vicious knees, right, on the ground, and it got me thinking, kind of, what's the best rule set? And I was curious to know what you think of the best rule set. Is it, UFC? Is it Ryzen? Is it Bellator? There's different variations across the board, but, is there a particular type of rule set that you think is the best for MMA?
Rising. 100% Pride rules, Rising rules are the best. Meaning, the reason why I say it is because as a professional fighter, you should be able to know where is a dangerous position. If knees in the head is that dangerous, you don't allow ever to be in that position. If punches to the spine is dangerous, you don't allow the spine to be revealed to be punched. I even have this, even groin shots I would be game for, because I think groin shots is also something as a professional fighter you need to defend on. And if it was allowed in the sport, we would train it and we would be able to defend it. Wow. For example, easy example is like elbows. When Rising didn't have elbows before, Pride didn't have elbows because they felt elbows would be to have too much cuts and stop fights too prematurely. Yeah. But so when you don't train elbows, if when we fought when one of the Pride fighters would fight in something that allows elbows comes at a whole different angle. It's a whole different distance where the elbows come from, and the speed that they come is a little different. So, we would have a hard time experiencing elbows. But as soon as elbows was included in Rising, and we started training with elbows, we learned how to avoid them. We learned that they wasn't that dangerous. Of course, you might get caught here and there, but not excessively where it'll stop fights soon. So I believe that every professional fighter has a duty to be able to defend himself in all positions. That's what fighting is. That's what the martial arts is. It's not, okay, when I'm in a turtle, you can't kick me in the head, so I'll stay in the turtle. If I'm in this vulnerable position where you got me, you got me in almost like a guillotine position where he's on you, and there's a chance you could get kneed. If knees are allowed, we would move into a position where we wouldn't get kneed. We'd sit back, or we would, we'd do something. But with the stupid rules, a fighter will put down his hand on the mat and then they can't knee, and it's like, how ridiculous does that look as a fighter? For fighters to do that looks ridiculous. It's like you're considered a combat athlete, someone that knows how to defend and hurt people. But you're in this weird position and you put your hand on the ground and they can't do anything to you. So it's like you're just in this very dangerous, like, you know, like Aljamain Sterling fight.
I was about to say.
Yeah, you know, he should, you know, instead of you know, playing the rules and make sure his hands on the ground, he should have actually been getting out of the position. You know, you professional fighters train to defend themselves and to hurt people. And but then with the rule set, you're going to have certain positions where some professional fighters will never learn how to get out of that position. Well, you know, I believe that when I started martial arts, it was something for the streets. When I started Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, it wasn't a sport Jiu-Jitsu. It was about Jiu-Jitsu for the streets. So everything I learned and everything I would teach was something that, okay, but if we were on the street, would this work? So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, it's hard to get in a position and say, okay, but if you put your hand on the ground, they can't knee you, so you'll be safe doing that. And you go on the street and you put your hand on the ground, the guy doesn't give a shit and knees you in the head. You know, you're laying on the ground and, you know, you're not used to being soccer ball kicked because you train that soccer ball kicks are illegal. But when you go on the street and you lay down, you got this bad habit of not really worrying about the soccer ball kick, and the guy will kick you in the face on the street. So for me, I like the martial art to be a true martial art. You know, I think it becomes a sport when you add these rules. And that's why I was really for just it being a martial art. So I believe the martial art should be something that can be, you know, transferred into street fights. That's what it is. That's what martial arts is. It's all about, I mean, karate, taekwondo, everything's about, you know, defending yourself in the street. And then, of course, there's a sport aspect to it where you put on headgear and then there's points, you know. But within those, the sport aspect of it, I would love if the sports would keep it still, okay, we're going to have points and stuff, but it'll still keep in that same area of, you know, defending yourself in the streets. So, yeah, as far as rules, man, I believe, you know, MMA is not really I still feel like, you know, instead of a sport, I'd like it to be a martial art, something that can be transferred into a real situation. So I like the least amount of rules possible.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with you. I remember Hickson said he wished there was time limits, you know, which I think that's maybe one step too far, just because, you know, you've got to kind of rein it in a little bit for people to watch and that side of things. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Ryzen's got a good mix, right? And definitely the whole put your hand down, you know, it just seems completely not what would happen in a real fight, right?
And it's a lot, you know, it's a lot easier because if you're, you know, the fans love aggressive fights. When one fighter has that aggression to want to, quote unquote, kill his opponent, there's this special type of energy that resonates with the fans. You know, you can feel that energy, and that makes everything so much more exciting. There's this little buzz of nervousness when you can feel that energy in a fighter. And, you know, when you're in that mood, you know, it makes it so much harder when you think, okay, he got his hands on, I can kick him in the head. You know, when you're on kill mode, it should be kill. You know, of course, you know, it's already hard enough. You can't eye gouge. You can't hit groin shots. But now you're going to add in when he's in this so-and-so position, you can't knee to the head. You can't soccer ball kick. You can't stomp his face. You know, if he's here, you can't do this. You can't punch the back of the head. It's like, sometimes it's really weird because you're punching the back of the head and the guy turns his back of his, you know, it's almost, how do you say, it's almost like something that is counterproductive. Because if I'm in this position, you know, when I was mounted on Frank Shamrock, they weren't allowing elbows to the head. So when I was there, you know, I would start elbowing Frank's shoulders, and so what he would do instead, he would put his head where I was elbowing, so I wouldn't be able to elbow.
Oh.
So the reason why I say it's counterproductive is because you're putting your head in a place where it can be elbowed now. So, you know, in the martial arts, I believe, is almost like, okay, this guy is the champion of martial arts. He'll probably be one of the toughest guys in the streets. But with those rules, it doesn't really mean that, you know. And so I feel like, you know, some fighters will be in a position and give the back of their head because they know you can't hit them there. and cover the front and the sides. You know, they'll turtle up and stay in the turtle because they know you can't hit in the back of the head. You know, it's almost like a handicap. You know, if they were allowed to be back in the head, I'm sure a lot of fighters would turn out of the turtle. They would turn out and face up, you know, and because you don't want to get in the back of the head. You know, so I believe that I don't like it. And it's only because I like the MMA being a martial art instead of a sport or entertainment. But you know, hey, to each his own. Everyone has their own opinions, and if there's some people who like it as a sport, and I just have a hard time seeing it as a sport with the objective of the sport. You know, most sports have more of a very civil objective. You know, put the ball in the hoop, run the ball across the line, kick the ball into that net. You know, every sport has a civil objective. What is the objective of martial arts? Is to punch your opponent so he knocks out, get him in an armbar so you can break his arm, sever his limbs, you know, tear his ligaments in his knee with a heel hook. That's your objective. How can that be a sport? You know, so
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I just think damn, that's kind of weird. That it's almost hypocritical, man. You're saying it's a sport, but yeah, the objective is to punch your opponent in the head and knock him senseless. So you know, that's where I have a little bit of difference.
So I'm going to segue a little bit because you talked about, you know, some of the, you know, fan favorite fighters are the ones where they really have that mentality, right? Kill or be killed. If I had to say, who are some of your 3 favorite fighters to watch? But if I said maybe one from the present, one from the past, maybe someone that retired that you always enjoyed watching fight, and actually maybe a women's fighter as well, right? If I had to, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but if I'd say who are 3, and they don't have to be your all-time favorite. If anyone's watching and they say, "What the hell? Why didn't you pick me?" But you know, just the first couple that comes to your head, maybe, and what?
The ex-fighters, maybe like Royce Gracie and Renzo Gracie. Renzo especially. I mean, Royce was a freaking warrior, man. He went and represented the family. You know, I mean, I took a lot of my beliefs from Royce, you know, about dying in the ring, being willing to die in the ring. And I think Royce is one of the huge ones. Renzo's a freaking crazy warrior, man. So past fighters would definitely be, you know, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be you know, Renzo.
Yeah,
when Sakuraba broke his arm.
Yeah,
Happy wasn't a part of his in his vocabulary. He actually looked at his arm dislocated. Was like, fuck, you know.
He just
How can you not appreciate that? How can you not appreciate that mindset and that warrior attitude? You know. So as far as past fighters, probably Renzo Gracie. Current fighters, I mean, you probably know, Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, man, 100%. I love that guy. Chandler is also a beast, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Justin. I love the way he doesn't really shit talk. He goes in there, puts it all on the line, and is willing to go through any type of grind. You know, Justin Gaethje, 100%. Yeah.
And women's MMA fight, that could be past or present. I'll let you.
Women, past or present.
You can't say Sarah.
Oh yeah, no, okay. I like Cyborg.
Yeah.
I like Cyborg because she's real honest and she's real down. You know, in the fight, she's down, and she has that killer instinct. Yeah. I also liked Marlos Kunen.
Oh yeah, Marlos Kunen.
Because she was such a beautiful lady, the most polite, nicest person, and bam! But when she went in the ring, she was a beast.
Yeah. Hell of a striker.
Very aggressive, very violent. You know,
super accurate as well with the strikes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Marlos was even her ground technique was solid. You know, and she, I believe, Marlos was one of the pioneers of the pioneers. You know, Roxy Modafferi just retired. Roxy's another one that's incredible. She's the nicest person. When you get him in there, she'll elbow you in the face. You know, I love that. I love that gap about Roxy. But you know how Roxy. You look at Roxy. She's been in the game for so long. But then when when she, I think someone posted something about when she was made her first debut, I think Joanna was taking her first kickboxing fight or something. And so I was kind of looking at that. I was looking back at the dates, and when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh shit!" When Roxy, you know, Roxy, what they consider like a real pioneer of the sport. Yeah, but it was funny because when Roxy had her first fight, I was like on my end of my career. And then if you look at the women's side, you know, Roxy's I think first fight or debut fight was at 2003 or something.
I think so.
But then you look back at the dates of some of these other, like Marlos Kunen, I think, I forget what the date was, but it was like in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, you know, someone like, you know, Marlos Kunen, and, you know, she was like a pioneer of the sport, you know. So, you know, that was one of, I mean, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Marlos. She's I mean, I just love everything about her. She's a most presentable person, the most respectable person, beautiful lady, and vicious as hell, you know.
You know what's funny? You saying all that makes me think it's kind of like she wrote the playbook for Valentina Shevchenko, because it's kind of similar, right? They were, like, in the sense they were absolute killers, but you know, both like very cultural people, right? It's
yeah. The only thing about that is, you know, Valentina is kind of built like a strong, you know, like you see her, it's kind of like, this girl looks like she does shit.
Yeah.
But Marlos, man, looks like a lady.
Yeah. That's very so true.
Yeah, she's like a lady. And even the way she, you know, Valentina got that, you know, that a little bit of a hey, what's up? I'm nice, but don't fuck with me, you know. But Marlos is like totally like, oh, hello, how are you? Well, like, it's almost like a lovely day, you know.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I just believe that someone like that, you know, it would be such an awesome representative of, you know, for the sport. You know how they say it's a barbarian sport, and, you know, human cockfighting, and, you know, they're stupid thugs and stuff.
Yeah,
she's like a perfect example. Like Marlos Kunen. Yeah. So you know, as you know, and one more thing I want to say is, I also was a huge fan of Mike Tyson.
Nice.
Boxing, a different sport, but man, I just love the fact, you know the interviews that he would say, I refuse to lose. I mean, that mentality, man, it's like, come on, you can't, it's not your choice. The fact that he was so adamant about beating his opponent, you're beating his opponent up. And, you know, even the ear biting, how everyone was disappointed about the ear biting, I was disappointed also in a way, but then when I really thought about it, it showed his ferocity. That's how badly that guy didn't want to lose. You know, he was in the ring, he knows the rules, and Holyfield was, you know, you could tell that fight he was getting the Holyfield was getting the upper hand. And I think he just saw that, he looks like he's going to lose. And the ear was right there, and that whole instinct, that ferocity of anything to win kicked in. So as much as it's frowned upon, for me, I'm like, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. But fuck, man, that mentality to win, you know, that refusing to lose, you know, it's so strong in him. There's this primitive thing that came out in him, and you know, it's, you know, there's a hypocritical part of the fans, you know, like they ooh and all about how big the bodybuilders' muscles are, but then they frown upon them doing steroids, you know. You know, they love the ferocity of Mike Tyson, but then when that ferocity goes in a wrong direction for a little bit, it bites the ear, you know, fucking just that energy is so great that he just couldn't handle it. You know, you should give him a little more leeway, you know, as much, if you're gonna love the ferocity that he gives when he rings and he stays within the rules, I think you should have a little bit of a leniency towards little mistakes like that. No, he bit the fucking a piece of Holyfield's ear, so some people are gonna say, "Fuck, little mistake." Like, I mean,
I know. Can you imagine if that happened now? Like, can you imagine, like, you see like the Twitter outrage on like all sorts of stuff. Can you imagine if like that incident had never happened before and it just happened randomly, 2022, someone bit the other player's ear? It would
You know,
be
that's one of the
fun.
things. One of the things that I'm kind of happy that I'm as old as I am, and I'm already past half of my life. This fucking road is turning so pushy-ish, man. I mean, they're gonna ban a Dr. Zeus book because it's racist.
Oh,
You
I hadn't
can't
heard
use
that
the
one.
word. You can't use the word fag. You know, back in my day, fag wasn't derogatory at all. It wasn't like, someone's gonna make a video of clips of me saying fag now, like they did to
Yeah,
Joe
you better
Rogan.
be careful.
But I would, for me, I saw my friend and he was like, he didn't want to go down the hill because he was scared. Ah, you're a fag.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It wasn't. It was almost like saying, you're being a weak person. It's almost like saying that. It was just.
Yeah.
But now it's like you can't say that.
Well, you think back in the day, it used to be on like thrown around in like South Park and that sort of stuff, and it was kind of like you'd hear it like everywhere. But it is one of those things, is seen as a derogative term. People take offense to it. So
Well,
in England, in
like
England, it's another word for cigarette.
What?
It's another word for cigarette in England. So people used to get really confused. You'd be like, people used to be like, oh, let me bum a fag, and that would mean like get you a cigarette. So I don't know, but
yeah, I know. I just think there's everyone's too soft nowadays.
Yeah, there's a lot of people are so cautious. People want to get upset about everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, people in Hawaii used to call me Jap. I used to call my friends, Chink, and we used to fuck around with that. Like that. You can't do that today. You're gonna get freaking you're gonna get ripped on, and so someone's gonna get a video of it, and then you're gonna get blasted on social media, and then you're gonna have to make an apology, and Jesus Christ,
Oh yeah, man. I got a lot of friends
I'm glad social media wasn't around when I was around, because they would have so much shit of me doing shit on video, man. Fights and whew.
Don't give people ammunition. They're gonna go back. They're gonna be scouring everything. We're done. We'll be cancelled.
Yeah, man.
No, I know what you mean. You know what? Just while we're talking about this, the one thing that I always think, right, is literally anyone can go and create a social media account, and there's all this like noise on social media, and I always think like this person could be like 10 years old, like saying this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm always like, so I don't engage with any like strangers or anything like that. You see all these like viral tweets and stuff, and I'm just like, oh God, I can't be bothered. And MMA Twitter as well is something else where it's like people will throw out the wildest take. Like you'll see it and you'll be like, that's the worst opinion ever. And then they'll put it out there just so that blows people like right back, and then it blows up. And yeah.
Well, I used to interact a lot on the MMA.tv, Sherdog, MMA Junkie forums.
Yeah.
I still do every so often.
Okay, cool.
And some, there's haters. There's always haters.
Yeah. People
that are behind the computer and they can say anything, and even in the rudest way. And I always thought that to myself, before getting mad and, fighting back with them and everything. I always thought that, this guy could be like a 13-year-old nerdy kid.
Yeah.
And you know how stupid it would look for me to start getting mad and upset, and like some fighters actually call the guys out and say, "Fuck you, man! I'll beat your ass. Come to my gym." It's like,
yeah, Kevin Holland, right? He's bringing in the trolls. Fair play.
You know how people are like, I don't know. People are looking at that as something cool, but I don't know. I think that's kind of stupid, man. I mean, I don't know who Kevin Holland is, what kind of guy he really is, but why do you want to waste your time doing that? That's what these guys want. They want to get on your nerves. They want to, The second thing is, Kevin Holland is not the strongest fucker in the world. You're going to come across someone that's going to kick his ass. You know what I mean? It's like, and then, some guys are not going to come bare-handed. They're going to come with a knife. They're going to come with a gun. I mean, it's going to happen. In this day and age right now, it's not a fair game anymore. I mean, back in the day when I got some guy was messaging me and telling me that he wants to fight me on the street.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he said it's called hada awasetai, is like, I want to like have a brawl with you.
Right.
So I remember that guy telling me that. I remember I kind of laughed at it, but I said, I said, I don't fight for free. I'm a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to fight me, I said, come to my gym, bring $10,000 with you. I'll bring $10,000, and the winner takes it home.
Nice.
And so he said, okay, shoot, I'll do that. Everything looks like it was going to happen. And we set a date to come to my gym, and I waited at the gym that day, and he never came.
Fuck.
And never messaged back again. You know, so I mean,
that's wild.
As much as I might say Kevin Holland shouldn't be doing that, I did it too. But remember, when I did it, it was in a whole different day and age, and you know, I think maybe in a sense I could say that I was very mature then. You know, Kevin Holland should, as a professional, should overlook that kind of stuff and let it go, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean,
especially the lawsuits that can happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking, you're videoing it, giving the guy a weapon to have a lawsuit on you too. You know, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how we got into that subject, but
no, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna stop before we get cancelled anyway. So two quick more ones. Well, I've got you. When Pride went out of business, and obviously UFC got a lot of the contracts, got a lot of the fighters, the likes of Krokop and all the other big names, Vanderlei Silva, all coming over. Why do you think it was never that popular in Japan?
Even after Pride was
done, and then UFC kind of said, we're gonna like take over. Well, they bought Pride, right? But they did make a big thing about how they put out quite a lot of UFC shows in Japan, but it'd be like one a year or something, right? But the fans never really took to it. Like,
well, I think in the beginning, the reason why they didn't have a lot of, they didn't run the events right away. I remember hearing something about Dana saying that he's getting threats from the Yakuza.
Oh yeah, I do. I remember that. Yeah,
I remember hearing that. So what I did was, I remember I messaged Dana, and I emailed Dana. I told Dana that if there's any problems you have with the Yakuza, let me know, and I can take care of it for you. And all he wrote back to me was, "You're the fucking man." Yeah, and he never actually took me up. Yeah, he never actually took me up on it. So with that said, maybe the possibility is that because of those threats, they were a little bit hesitant on coming into Japan. I'm not sure, but I know that MMA as a whole in Japan never really took off after that, because a lot of MMA was almost linked to Yakuza after that. So the sponsors, without TV and sponsors, the viewing and the how it would be available to people was very minimal. So it took a hit on the popularity because of the reputation of that. Oh, the Yakuza are involved. Yakuzas are all involved with all the fighting, even till today. Rising has Yakuza in the backing. Shuto has it. Everybody has it, but it's something that is kept under the table. And I think everybody knows there's an association with Yakuza in every type of business here in Japan, but it's kept under the table.
Because there's pictures of like the ex-prime minister with Yakuza and stuff, right? It's like,
yeah, and I'm sure the mafia has a little bit of a hand in the UFC. I can't see how they wouldn't. I mean, I might be wrong because I don't know the underground scene in the US at all. But in Japan, I'm 100% positive. I mean, Coca-Cola has Yakuza backing. Johnson & Johnson has Yakuza backing. Sony has Yakuza. I guarantee that. Wow. Everyone, you need to have that to be safer. And every fighting association, I mean, I know Rising. I know some of the big sponsors are Yakuza. I know some guys that give out money that are Yakuza. I know, the guys who are, they call it Kitsumochi, where is a protection for Rising, is Yakuza. I know some of the guys, it's given. But I guess once it gets public, it gets public, it's any sponsor or any TV that is willing to associate with them is saying it's okay to accept. They're accepting Yakuza.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it's like a big no-no. I mean, I have a lot of Yakuza friends, and it's something that's frowned upon. I got a lot of shit when I was fighting, because I had a lot of friends that were Yakuza. And they frowned upon it.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things, right, where like people kind of know it's there, but unless they have to address it, so if like there's a big scandal or something, like that's when, like you say, sponsors will start pulling out, TV stations will start pulling out and stuff. So hopefully nothing big like that.
Yeah,
I
got criticized a lot of that because people were like, I remember a guy, a troll on the internet was telling me that, oh, you have Yakuza friends. And I said something like, yeah, they are very honorable, nice Yakuza guys. I mean, like any profession, lawyers, you got dirty lawyers, you got good lawyers.
Yeah.
You got dirty doctors, you got good doctors, you know, in any profession. And then he tells me something, oh, so you support drug selling and what is that?
Human trafficking?
Yeah, human trafficking. It's like, I remember responding like, not every single one of my associates that I know, they are not involved with drug dealing or pornography or human trafficking. I mean, there's a lot that do that. I'm not saying you know every Yakuza is a good person. Like I'm not saying every doctor is a good doctor. I'm not saying every priest is a Catholic priest is a good priest. You know, there's child molesters. There's guys that are super good. You know. I mean, it's the same thing. Yakuzas. There's good, very good Yakuzas. Some of my best friends are Yakuza.
Cool.
And you know that's what people don't realize. You know that they're not all child pornography guys. They're not all drug dealers. They're not all extorters. You know. So
final question, again, is on the Ryzen note and the Pride note. Do you think Ryzen can be as popular as Pride domestically? So not internationally, because I don't think they'll ever compete with UFC. I think UFC's now changed completely, right? It's bigger than Pride ever was, even globally, if you're talking about it. But do you think Ryzen can reach the heights that Pride did in Japan?
Not without the foreign fighters. Not without, you know, the Justin Gaethje's coming over. Not without, you know, the back in the day. I mean, majority. I mean, the Japanese fighters. You had Shoji, Matsui, Sakuraba. Very minimal. But frick, who else did you have? All the Gracies. You had Vanderlei Silva, Rampage Jackson, Mark Hunt. You know, you had all the names. I mean, all those names are in the UFC now.
Yeah.
So without that, you know, something about Japan, man, they love the foreigners. They love foreigners fighting. They love that foreigner against Japanese or two big foreigners. You know, a lot of people, they love fighting because there's something that they can never fathom doing. To see another man doing it, it's like, whoa, holy fuck, he's going to go up and fight that guy. Like you see Buster Douglas fighting Mike Tyson, like, holy fuck, he's going to fight Mike Tyson. I want to see that. You want to see it because it's something that you can't imagine. And it's same with the Japanese fans to see foreign fighters, those big, strong, you know, foreign fighters are a lot more powerful than Japanese fighters. To see those foreign fighters come in, you know, it's huge. So to have that same aura and the same impact, I think Japan would need the foreign fighters. You know, Rising is really popular right now.
Yeah, it feels it.
Not near the level that Pride used to be. Because you don't have those foreign fighters coming in. You know, they brought them in for a little bit. But, you know, it's like Rising in the beginning brought in a lot of Russian fighters that were freaking tough as shit, man. And some of them are now even in the UFC. That Jerry Paul, or I can't say his name, but he's going to fight for yeah. So
he's Czech,
he was one of the fighters. There was a lot of fighters from Europe that came in from, but, you know, no one knew them. They were probably as tough as a lot of UFC fighters, but no one knew them. So that, you know, Japan's all about, you know, Japan, you know, you can go into a hostess bar and you can, you know, like my look won't attract any girls. But as soon as they find out I'm famous, they'll be like, oh. I mean, my whole thing before I fought was I'm from Hawaii. And I was like, Hawaii. So you get a little bit of a rank up because you're from Hawaii. And then when you did, I won't say it myself, but when one of the waiters, one of the guys would say, oh my God, I want an autograph. The girls would be like, you can see their eyes at him. Oh, he's famous, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a big thing in Japan about that, you know? So, you know, like having a strong Russian fighter, not known Russian fighter, even though he's strong and he fights good, they'd rather see someone that's famous, you know? So I think without you know, I mean, UFC, they have exclusive contracts. You can't fight anywhere else out of the UFC. They've got, you know, they have most of the best fighters. Bellator has a lot of good fighters too, but I think the cream of the crop is in the UFC. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that UFC's fighters are better than Bellator. I just think that UFC has more of a roster than Bellator. I mean, Rising has the lucky thing is Rising has a good relationship with Bellator, so we'll probably be able to get some Bellator fighters over.
I love what they do with that, like sort of, you know, if you sign with Rising, it's not like a one-way thing. You can go back to like Deep, or you can go back to Shuto, or you can, you know, you can maybe fight in Bellator, but then come back. It's kind of, I love that. Like it's really refreshing, you know. And so we're so used to it reminds me of like your day when people would just sort of turn up anywhere. You know, you weren't like, I'm a UFC guy, I'm stuck in the UFC for 3 fights and be cut. So
yeah, it's nice to have that because a fighter has power to negotiate their contract. But then I can understand the promotion side because they're going to invest a lot of money promoting this guy. You know, if you know, like Tsushi's not on an open contract; he's an exclusive contract. He can't fight any. He's one of the few guys that have that. They can't fight anywhere without Rising's permission. So they'll probably allow him to fight in Bellator, but not UFC or anywhere else. You know, so you know, I understand that they promote him. They spend money trying to promote him. I mean, can you imagine that if he only had 1 fight contract? You know, the amount of promotion they probably do for him would be minimal, with the fear of him moving to another association. All that money they spent promoting him is promoting him for the next fight. You know, the fame that they want to you know, get all the profits of the, you know, the fame that they've created. So I can understand that. You know, but it is unfortunate when that happens, because it wouldn't, you know, like the boxing has a WBC, the WBO, you know, they have all the different you know, they have all the different associations. And then you have a unification. Wouldn't that be freaking crazy to have unification of the MMA? Like even PFL champions in one draw with the UFC champion and the Bellator champion. I mean, that would be a classic, man. That would be so awesome.
Be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know.
I was going to say one final thing like on that. Do you think a Japanese fighter winning a UFC championship, do you think that will help? Well, do you think that would peak it to pride levels?
Well, if that fighter came back and fought in Rising, yeah. But if he's all of a sudden becomes just a UFC fighter and can't come back to Rising, then I don't know if it'd make that much of a difference. As far as Rising getting huge, you know, like Horiguchi, you know, Horiguchi's doing really well. He went and won the Bellator, you know, but Rising didn't get that much bigger. But I think it excites the fans here, to an extent. But I don't think it can get to that extent of if the fighters were actually coming here, you know. And you know, even if Horiguchi fights Kaduo here, you know, it's still Kaduo's not that big a name like a Khabib or a Justin Gaethje, or you know.
No,
Even if a Yan would come and fight Horiguchi in Japan, that'd probably be huge. You know, so I think, you know, it's a real materialistic thing, but Japan loves the famous people, and until you get the famous people here, you know, I think there's a certain level it's going to hit.
No, makes sense. No, that was awesome, man. I appreciate that. Was everything I had on my list. If anyone's watching and thinks we missed something, let us know. Drop it in the comments. We can do another one of these. If you guys enjoyed it, let us know. Any parting words, Enson?
That was good, man. I like the questions. Just to let you guys know, I had no idea what the questions were. Even the favorite fighter, like, oh shit, who's my favorite fighter? You know, but yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, like James said, you guys have any ideas? Anything you want to hear? Anything that, you know, I can offer to you guys? Let us know. Write in the comments. I answer and look at every single comment. If I don't, it's because I missed it. But I go through and check every comment, and even the comments of comments. So tune in, follow us, and give us a comment.
Like and subscribe. Cool. Thanks, everybody.